Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, a very special show indeed. I'm finally going to be reviewing a new Squale. This is the 60 ATMOS, or the Squale-matic, a 600-meter automatic diver from Squale. Quick wristwatch check, and I am actually pulling a Schwarzkopf, and for good reason. I know it's a little crazy, but the thing is, I have to return the Squale. This is one of them. We'll have a closer look in just a moment, and of course, I have my little SKX. This is the SKX013, the mid-size of the 38mm version, and you could not get more different in size. I mean, just look at that, because that is one thing the new Squale is, and that is it's much bigger. So, however, I've got to say, for a big 44mm watch, I am able to wear it quite comfortably, and that's mainly to do with that iconic case that Squale is so famous for. But anyway, I'll get into all of that in just a moment. But before I do, I just want to share with you this beautiful book. The owner of this fantastic company, he was in New York for a some kind of event recently, and I had the pleasure of going and having some wine with him, talking about watches obviously, and it was a huge honor for me. And he gave me this fantastic book. Inside it has the whole product line, and of course the history of all the sponsorships of all the iconic divers that they had. And there, of course, you have Jacques Mayol, the Dolphin Man, the legendary free diver. And it goes into the whole history of the Von Buren family, and probably the best of all, the timeline of the Squale brand itself. It was an absolute pleasure to meet Andrea, because you could really tell he cares so passionately about the watches, and it was fantastic to hear about his personal link and history with the Von Buren family. And that's what I really love about Squale, is that it's not just a brand owned by some faceless giant conglomerate or corporation. It's owned by a guy who actually knows the Von Buren family. It was fantastic to hear stories about Charles Von Buren and the founders of the company, and the incredible history. So it was very, very special for me, and I was deeply honored. And what a fantastic gift. I'm absolutely going to treasure this. And of course, probably the highlight of meeting him was having a look at his own Squale, which is this particular version. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's a special edition of the Master Diver that has been hand engraved. Phenomenal. I've never seen anything quite like it. The only one in the world. And as you can see, little sharks, or squaletti. And of course, there you see Poseidon. Just beautiful. Astonishing detail. I mean, it was really, I should have taken a photograph. Of course, I forgot. I was too mesmerized by its beauty. And the other most crucial thing, of course, I was lent the Squale-matic, the 60 ATMOS here, this new 600-meter diver. So today, well, over the week, I've been wearing it, enjoying it. Unfortunately, I have to give it back. Very, very sad, but it is a little bit too big. It's, you know me, guys. I have the skinnier wrist. So without further ado, let's change perspectives and have a closer look. Today, I am finally getting to review the 60 ATMOS, or the Squale-matic. And it comes in 3 varieties for the moment, as far as I know. This was released at Baselworld 2016, and as you guys know, I'm a huge Squale fan. And I'm going to include, if the focus ever works, my little 50 ATMOS here as a kind of comparison, just so you get an idea of size and the differences between this, probably my favorite diver under $1,000. Well, definitely my favorite diver under $1,000, and a personal keeper in my collection, and how it compares, not just the shape, the size, the weight, also the colors, which is something that Squale do so well. Now, first of all, I'll get the basic specifications out the way. We first have the satinato version, which is, as you can see, refers to the finishing of the case, and has a different dial as well. Now, Mark over at Long Island Watches already done a review, a premiere, so to speak, and he described the color scheme as a kind of Halloween color scheme, and he was absolutely spot on. The satinized version, as you see here, has this kind of orange, white, and black color scheme going, a slightly different layout. We don't have the applied markers as we do in the polished version. So let's have a look at the polished version. This is the polished in black. Now, as I angle it, you'll notice the Sunburst dial kind of changes color. And at one angle, it looks kind of dark blue. At another angle, it looks almost like a deep purple. That is the double AR coating on this beautiful double-domed sapphire glass. Just look at that. And it's specifically designed so it doesn't distort reading the dial at any angle. And it's just exquisite. It really adds an extra dimension. If we just pull in the regular Squale at 1521, you see how it's just flat. So far, this new dome, and this is on all the 3 new models, really is exquisite. And look at the clarity of reading the dial. Even at an angle, it does not distort like a cheap domed crystal. Now you'll immediately notice those beautiful applied markers with kind of faceted angles that catch the light, really play with the light. So even without the lume, it's extremely legible in low light. Now, of course, another thing you'll notice is the new bezels. They both have enamel bezels. Now these are the new bezels. The Saturnized one has just standard markers. They don't have the numerals anymore like in the aluminium insert of the 50 Atmos, if we just see here. So you can see the new beautiful, and they are inlaid, so you have all these indices again with kind of faceted angles really to catch the light. Absolutely exquisite. And this is not cheap to do. This is quite an expensive thing to produce. And we do have lume at the 12 o'clock pip there, triangle, and at the 6 o'clock. So there is lume now embedded in the inlay, which is just stunning. Now, something I will point out, this is my little Squale is one of the newer ones, and it has the little screws for adjustment on the bezel. This was a bit of an issue with the 60 click bezel on the 50 Atmos. There is a little bit of play, but however, like this upgraded bezel, they've also included it on the new 60 Atmos, which you can adjust the little screws. There's about 4 of them, and you can get a looser action or a tighter action, and you can already tell it's 60 click, which is a shame because it would have been nice to have 120 click, but to be honest, I actually kind of prefer 60 click because it's just easier and quicker to set, because I usually use timing bezels for jogging. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So you can see as I angle it there, that beautiful sunburst effect, minute track going around the outside, and of course I love the new little Squale-matic sign there at the 6 o'clock, Swiss made at the bottom. And now it looks kind of purple, as you can see. Now they've retained the orange hand for the minute. Orange, like we discussed in the Diver Watch video just the other day, is the color that is the most visible in the light spectrum underwater. And as you lose light, orange is the color that stays visible the longest in the whole color spectrum. So that's why you'll see a lot of orange divers, orange dials, but specifically for the minute hand, because obviously the minute hand is what you're going to be using to time in conjunction with the dive time bezel. Now, without further ado, let's bring on my personal favorite, and you undoubtedly will immediately see why this is my favorite. And it's just, look at that dazzling, spectacular, striking color. Andrea, the boss of Squale, was telling me he describes it as a Caribbean blue. It's a kind of cyan blue. Just to compare it with, it's funny, I always thought this was very light. This is the kind of more azzurro Italian blue, quite darker compared to this new blue. And I love how they got the bi-color bezel here. Now actually this one as well, that beautiful coin edge, really makes gripping the unidirectional bezel very easy. And I can tell you the action is vastly improved, so it's nice that they're listening to the audience and the watch fans and really taking on board and tweaking all these little things. Let's just bring in the Saturnized version. You can see the difference in the dial, the applied markers there. Let's do a lume shot. Now it is super luminova, and I'll include a shot of the 1521 so you can see how it compares. All right, let's take a look. Very easy to tell which is the Squale 60 Atmos. They've even included a little bit more volume at the 6 o'clock position on the bezel, and of course the triangle, which is a really nice touch. And that the paddle, I think the Lollipop is even a little bit easier to read than the paddle on the older loom. I love the way they've got that little kind of almost like crosshairs at the 12, 9 and 6. Very nice touch. Decent lumen over. It's not actually that big, but it works perfectly fine and holds a decent charge. Anyway, back to the studio. Okay, welcome back. So let's talk a little bit about the size and the scale, because obviously, if you haven't noticed, it is a little bit bigger. Now, all three new versions of the 60 ATMOS are exactly the same size. Now, we have two measurements really on the diameter. We have the first measurement, which is 44 from the edge of the bezel. The bezel, if we just have a look at the side, overhangs slightly the case. And if we measure the case, for example, it's actually about 42.5. From lug to lug, we're looking at about 51 millimeters, just under 16 millimeters in thickness, and then lug width is 22. Pretty much everything is bigger. However, because of this beautiful curved design, and the shape of the case is exactly the same, it's only the finishing and the dial detail and the bezel that differentiates between these three, but the shape, how they wear, is all exactly the same. Now obviously these are stainless steel cases. We still have that beautiful curve, these lovely beveled edges. If we compare the 50 ATMOS, they've removed the engraved side, which some people didn't like that. I don't mind it. I quite like it. It has kind of made it more of a clean look, but they have retained those angled, those slight angles on the other side. Of course, we have that iconic 4 o'clock crown, signed, of course, with the Von Buren logo. And talking of the Squale logo, that kind of brings me on nicely to the detail in the dial. Now, when I was researching some beautiful old Squale watches and also cases they made for many diving brands during the 60s, I came across a beautiful, stunning blank pan, and I'll include a picture. I mentioned Doxa. They also made various special editions for the Italian Marina Militare. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions or things they don't really understand about the Squale, and Andrea was very adamant about this, that this will never change, is why they are signed twice on the dial. Now, if you look at the picture of the blank band, you will see that it's the blank band name of the actual diver is written at the top, and then the Squale is signed at the bottom. Now, this indicates that yes, it is that watch was made by blank band, but it is a case by Squale, and all Squale watches have this sign on it. It's a kind of ode or a tribute to a lineage and their past of being a great case maker for other brands, and therefore all Squale are signed twice on the dial because of that. And it's a very special mark. It's kind of a thing of pride for the company, almost like a signature. It's just another cool thing that I like about Squale, is that they are very much linked to their history. They're not just some company that, or a name that was bought out and resurrected. They're still very much owned and run by the same people that grew up with the Von Burens and knew the family. So it just makes Squale so special. It really has incredible lineage. Even some of the most biggest watch brands that make dive watches don't have that kind of lineage. So that's why they're always signed twice on the dial, and I think it's a beautiful touch. But this time, if we really look closely, they've signed it Squale-matic, with that little pop of red. Really nice touch. Now, colors is something that Squale do so well. That flare, that kind of retro color scheme, it's timeless, and I think it adds to its style. But at the end of the day, they are tool watches, and that is demonstrated by their choice of the movement. Inside we have the same ETA as the 1521. It is the ETA 2824-2, a 25 joule movement, operates at 28,800 vibrations an hour, and has a 38 to 40 hour power reserve. And they are hugely reliable, very affordable to maintain. This is the elaborate version. I'm getting incredible accuracy from these. I've had my particular little Squale 1521, which has the same movement as the Squale-matic for over a year now, and it's a real trooper. I get +7, +8 seconds a day. Actually, right now it's in the middle of a date change. As you see, it's coming up to 12 o'clock. But anyway, hugely reliable, a workhorse movement, and what you'd want for a robust tool watch. So it's dependable, and you know, it's a proven movement. That ETA has been going since 1982. So what more could you want, really? So it's fully automatic, obviously bidirectional winding. Now, of course, we have the same date at 3 o'clock, beautifully framed in a crisp white. Let's go back and have a look at this. So let's get a quick wrist shot. And as you can see, despite being a larger watch, essentially a 44mm watch, it wears like a 42 because the case is 42. Now those curved lugs do exactly the same as the 1521. They just hug the wrist, pretty much almost the width of my actual wrist. Now I have extremely skinny wrists, so for me to pull off a 44mm watch like this is very rare indeed, and I gotta say, it's very comfortable. I don't, however, like the Milanese version. Now, we didn't really discuss the bracelet. They come on either a beautifully handmade Italian leather strap like this with the signed Squale buckle, or you can get the official Squale NATO straps, which look like this, and they are also beautifully signed, exquisitely made, really beautiful high quality straps, or they come on the Milanese. In fact, actually, let's bring in the scales just to give you an idea. With the mesh, we're looking at 200 grams. On a strap, we're looking at 117 grams, which is about the same as a NATO strap. And just to compare with my 1521, 100 grams. So even on a NATO, the NATO is just a flick lighter than the leather strap. So for me, I think it's much more comfortable on a NATO strap because it is a chunky big watch. However, it wears very, very well. I don't really even feel it. It's not as heavy as some pieces like the Seiko Monster, for example. They tend to be quite heavy. But I gotta say, they are extremely solid. The mesh bracelet is very well made, extremely easy to change out if you see there. They've even signed the little links. It's just pins, and we have a double push button with a fold over safety there, signed, very nicely machined, very nicely constructed. We got little micro adjustments there, and you can get a really good fit. However, there is no diving extension, which is a bit of a disappointment. And also the weight, I mean, this is really thick and heavy, very, very high quality, but a little bit on the weighty side. In the back, we have a screw down case back, signed pretty much exactly the same as the 50 ATMOS, just this time with 60 ATMOS. Lovely engraving, and the Squale logo, Swiss made, of course, professional, beautiful. And that really just does sum it up. It is indeed a very professional watch. So another little detail is they are individually numbered between the lugs here, which is a really nice touch. This is 0101. Just look at that domed crystal. I wish my little 521 had that domed. It's probably my favorite feature, along with those applied markers and that new bezel. Absolutely gorgeous. So if we unscrew that iconic screw down crown at the 4 o'clock, one advantage of everything being a smidgen larger is that obviously the crown's going to be larger and it is easier to operate. Oh dear, look, I got a bit of a hole in the glove. Better get new gloves. We have manual wind, obviously. So it's the 2824. It is hackable. If we pull it out all the way, it is hackable, of course. And we have got quick set date. And I've got to say, as we thread it back in, it really threads nicely, and the action to it is very solid and what you'd come to expect. And what I love about having the crown at this position is that it's not intrusive at all to the wrist. It doesn't, you know, it's very, very comfortable. Okay guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let's take it back to the studio. So the positives and the negatives. I'll start with the negatives. To be honest, well, the obvious thing, it's too large for me. In a way, it's a good thing because the last thing I need is another Squale, you know. I'm very, very happy with my 1521. If they came out with a 1521 with the upgraded bezel and all the rest of it, I would happily pay more for it. But it is a big boy. However, if you can pull off a 44mm diver like this, and I almost can, but it's just, you know, I would be a hypocrite. I've been going on and on about smaller sizes for about a year now, and things are slowly going that way. But if you can pull off larger sizes, this really is an amazing watch. So the negative really isn't one. Also, the only other thing is the lack of diver extension. Very, very minor things. I find it difficult to criticize this watch because they really have taken the 1521 and perfected it. The quality is there. It's certainly, and here we are with the positives because there really isn't that many negatives. It's a beautiful, truly unique, very original watch. It has a ton of personality, really striking colors, very bold, and I think that character, that charm, you know, it's an attention grabber, but without being gaudy. You know, it's a very difficult thing to do, and I think it's very stylish. Sure, it's not going to be for everybody's taste. It does have a bit of a Marmite effect, so to speak, but to me, guys, it's a definite winner, and in a way, I'm kind of relieved that it's a bit too big for me because, as I said, the last thing I need is another diver. Anyway, thoughts, queries, questions, opinions, all the rest of it down below, please. I'll add a link. Maybe I'll do a card up there to the Squale store if you're interested in buying one of these. I think they are on sale now. I'm not sure, but have a look. I expect they're going to sell out fast because they're only in a limited amount. They are absolutely phenomenal watches, pure class indeed. Thank you very, very much for watching, and a quick thank you to Andrea for lending me this and allowing me to review this fantastic watch. And thank you again for the book. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful, and as always, I will catch you in the next one. Ciao.